Hello, this video is attached to the August 26th Board of Supervisors meeting, and what follows is strictly my opinion, nothing more, nothing less, my observations on business that's being conducted in the township, and there's a few things I'd like to point out. This meeting was rather short. It was just before the Labor Day weekend. It lasted under 1 hour, which was quite unusual. But some interesting things occurred at the meeting. First of all, the beginning public comment section where we could comment on agenda items was completely eliminated. No one was either allowed or did not want to make any public comments on the agenda items. So the only public comment is near the end of this video. But there are a couple things that occurred that I think were rather significant. And of course, their video's not up on the website yet, so you may not know some of these things. But apparently, Mr. Mascaro was there. You won't see him in the video, but you hear his voice. And he made a very generous offer to the township for $1 million to go towards building a new firehouse. I'm not sure how much that'll cost. We should ask the supervisors to give us an idea of what the taxpayers could be expected to pay, but certainly is a very generous offer. But in my opinion, when you announce that you're going to give $1 million, you usually bring the check with you. So there's no check been handed over to the township yet, but let's hope that that will happen. And the other thing, in my opinion, we're going into negotiations related to host fees. And in my opinion, this almost appears to be like a bribe, you know. I could be wrong, but it's just my opinion, and I think it should have been done after the negotiations were decided and how much we're going to be charging the Mascaro company for allowing them to dump garbage from all over the East Coast into our backyard, where it's made him a fortune. And I also looked into a little bit of this. You know, like, for example, I looked at the July 25th, 2011 Board of Supervisors meeting. And in that meeting, you can look at the minutes, they should be on the website. It says that Exeter was offered $1.25 a ton, and this was in 2011. And that other municipalities in the area were receiving $3 to $5 a ton. So we should expect now, after 8 years, we'll see how good our solicitor and our supervisors are in negotiating. Because I believe that 8 years later, we should expect to see something north of $5 a ton. And so let's not overlook this. Let's watch and see what we think we could get. What it's worth for allowing someone to dump their garbage in our backyard. So that's one of the big issues there. And again, it is $1 million a generous offer. We'll see if it pans out that way. Also, another item that came up near the end of this video is apparently that a police officer has filed a grievance. And if you looked at some of my other videos, you know that I pointed out in public comments that Mr. Granger, our township manager, the police department reports directly to him. And also he is the grievance officer for the police department. So in my opinion, this is a conflict of interest. He's sort of like the judge and jury. Many of you know, if you've ever had any problems at work with your boss, you know, this is like having a problem with your boss, and then your boss decides whether you're right or wrong. So I don't think it's fair, and I hope that you feel the same way as well. and you'll express your opinions to the township supervisors who knew about this conflict and still brought a motion to the table to specifically reinforce the fact that Mr. Granger is a grievance officer and they want him to handle the whole issue here. So, you know, I believe in all fairness that it should be someone else. So I hope that you'll think about that and express your opinions as well. Then another item came up. I bring it up in the comments, public comments, and in the 2018 audit, Mr. Granger transferred $7 million from the sewer fund to the general fund. Now, this may not seem like a very big issue, but if any of you recall that a couple months ago when Lisa Vanderlane was on the board, her board was very, very interested in finding out what happened at the Reading Country Club, so they issued a forensic audit. And the forensic auditors, one of the things that they discovered was that the township supervisors have no policy for transferring money from one fund to another fund. And this was pointed out several times in the forensic audit report as one of the reasons why some of the money for the capital improvements was misused and used for operating expenses instead of capital improvements. So this report was completed over a year ago, and we still do not have a policy. Because we know this because there are no minutes where the Board of Supervisors made a motion to approve the movement of $7 million from the sewer fund to the general fund. Where did this $7 million come from? In my opinion, from what I know, it is a result of issuing some bonds for $7 million that were supposed to be used to maintain and keep the plant, our sewer plant, up to date. Well, they never used that money. That's one of their excuses for selling the plant. It's been abused and maintenance has been deferred, so we must sell it. Well, this $7 million should stay in the sewer fund and should be used, in my opinion, to pay off whatever's left of the existing bond proceeds. And whatever is left over after we pay off the bonds, in my opinion, should be returned to the users, the customers of the sewer fund before we make the transfer. So we should get some kind of rebate off of this. But I think it'll stay in the general fund and they'll use it for other reasons, other purposes, unless you stand up and voice your opinion, tell them what you want them to do. So let's hope that they create a policy and move forward on that. Finally, the last thing I'd like to talk about, it wasn't part of the meeting on August 26th, but it's a recent issue because all of us are paying our taxes. I just paid my taxes, including my per capita tax. And if any of you have been following my texts on social media and on video, you know that according to our tax records, our former chairman of the Board of Supervisors has never paid the per capita tax, along with her boyfriend, husband, whatever the man is. They haven't paid the per capita tax for many, many, many years. So the Board of Supervisors know this, they're aware of it, but they're not doing anything to pursue these back taxes. So I'd like to encourage all of you that see this video to go to the meeting and ask the supervisors what they're doing about this issue. Because you're paying your per capita tax, I'm sure, and I know I have. So I hope you'll go back and review what I've just spoken about, take some notes, get involved in your community because there are serious issues here. You'll see in the video coming up that they're going to hold a meeting, finally a meeting on service electric. which seems to have a franchise agreement that keeps other competition away. If you want your cable, internet bills to perhaps go lower, we need to open it up to competition. That's my opinion. Also, try to attend the meetings. They can be very interesting. You can learn a lot. And if you can't make it to the meetings, send texts or emails to people that can represent you and speak on your behalf. So now, at the end of this, I'd like to turn over to you the meeting that occurred on August 26th, 2019.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We can't hear you back here.
It's on their mics and their mics and just looking at the chair.
The mic's not working, so we're gonna have to project.
Thank you.
Mr. Howell?
I'm taping the meeting tonight. I like to hear what's going on.
Thank you. Our an announcement with representative from Congresswoman Houlahan's office. Speaking tonight, take us update.
I don't think she's here yet. She had to go to another meeting first, and then she'll be here.
Township, so she'll be here shortly.
We can have her talk about it.
I think you're on the chair.
It's like nothing is on the agenda. I heard
You'll come to meetings and you can't see.
regular approvals, treasurer's report, July.
Make a motion to approve subject to audit.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Disbursements.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Old business, John. Approved time extension for Mama's Pizza and Land Development.
Chairman.
November 2019.
We received a time extension from Mama's Pizza, extending time for plan review until November 20th. Would be appropriate for the board to accept their request.
Is there a motion?
Yes, please.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next up, approved time extension for Exeter Township Retail Land until November 20th, 2019.
Mr. Chair, this is the same thing for Exeter Township Retail Land. They requested an extension until November 20th. This is for the buildings that are adjacent, proposed to be adjacent to the Sheetz development on Perkiomen Avenue. Again, it would be appropriate for the board to accept the request.
Make a motion to accept the time extension.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next, consider resolution approving conditional use application for Mama's Pizza. The resolution will grant conditional use approval for Mama's Pizza to operate at 35 West 47th Street.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next up, consider resolution granting preliminary plan approval for Mama's Pizza. This would grant preliminary plan approval for Mama's Pizza.
Does the board wish to see the plan again?
Sure.
The representative from Mama's Pizza here to go through the plan.
Good evening. I'm Steve Bensinger from Stackhouse Bensinger, also Vince DeStefano from Mama's Pizzas here.
Is that on?
Yeah, hold it on. It's on now. Yes, we received preliminary plan approval from the Planning Commission about 2 months ago. Then we proceeded for the conditional use, which you just approved. The property is located at 35 West 47th Street. There's an existing house there. That house will remain. The pizza shop will be in addition to the house. The pizza shop is 2,400 square feet, 40 feet by 60 feet. There's 18 proposed parking spaces. That's more than what the ordinance requires for the pizza shop. There will be an underground stormwater management system in the parking lot. Access off of a parkway, and we also will be tying into the alley behind the property, which will allow access out to 47th Street.
Questions? Motion?
Make a motion to grant preliminary plan approval.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up, consider resolution granting preliminary plan approval for Exeter Township Retail. This would grant preliminary plan approval to construct a multi-tenant building adjacent to Sheetz, as John mentioned a few minutes ago. No tenants have been identified yet.
Is there a representative here?
Sheetz?
Hi, I'm Cassie Kelly with BL Companies. I'm here on behalf of Exeter Retail to talk about the project in front of you. We're requesting preliminary plan approval, and we need 4 waivers with that. The site, as just described, is the parcel adjacent to the Sheetz parcel that's currently in development opening next week. It's roughly 1.2 acres. It's proposed to have 7,200 square feet of retail. Roughly 4,500 of that will be a mattress store, and the residual 2,700 square feet will be a separate retail user that hasn't been identified. The site's in the Township Common zoning district, where retail is a permitted use. The plan proposes 2 driveway entrances, as well as 30 loan parking spaces. The loading area is in the rear of the site. This has been reconfigured slightly from what you see in front of you to address township concerns as well as some feedback we received from the Planning Commission. We've added an additional curb cut, which will allow the loading trucks to pull straight onto Circle Avenue and eliminate the need to have to back up onto Circle Avenue. The site is served by public utilities. The stormwater management associated with the site was designed and permitted with the Sheetz development. They both share this rain garden that will provide the stormwater management on site. This site will have the storm drain and connection into that rain garden. The NPDES permit was modified from the Sheetz permit since it is shared stormwater. That was a minor modification, and we processed that through the Conservation District and obtained approval. Additionally, traffic was accounted for with the Sheetz development through their HOP and the traffic trip generation. As I mentioned, we are requesting 4 waivers. These waivers are the same waivers that were reviewed and granted to the Sheetz development. These have been reviewed and recommended for approval from Planning Commission. I can just quickly go through those. The 4 waivers are the environmental assessment statement, because the site is under development, the environmental hazard report, and the water resource study. Again, those aren't needed because the site's been developed. And then we have 1 regarding the tree diameter. We're requesting to use 2.5-inch caliper trees instead of 1.5-inch caliper.
Questions?
So I think you reviewed. Yes, we did review the plans. Planning Commission at their previous meeting made a motion to grant conditional preliminary plan approval. The condition would be meeting the outstanding items in our review letter, as well as the review letter from Simone Collins dealing with landscaping and other site issues. So generally, most of the issues have been addressed during the Sheetz land development process, since they did have a future or a site located. They weren't sure what the use is.
currently, right now, there isn't an established use, correct? You did review it, we had some concerns, and they corrected those. And we're in a position where we would recommend to the Board of Supervisors to consider granting preliminary plan approval.
Thanks. Do you have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next up for new business, set for public meeting on Service Electric franchise agreement for October 8th, 2019 at 6 p.m. What we want to do here is, our franchise agreement is coming in with Service Electric. We want to have a town hall. This is kind of a issue that people care about in the community, so we kind of want to have a separate meeting, talk about Service Electric. We did this 2 years ago with Amity and Birdsboro, so now we're going to do it on October 8th, 2019 at 6 p.m. Get the public involved, have them come and talk about the good and the bad with Service Electric as we look at the potential franchise agreement. So we do need a motion to approve advertising and having that date October 8th for the Service Electric public town hall.
That was my question.
We'll debate after. Michelle, you can speak.
Where are you looking to have it?
We can have it here, we can have it at a bigger building. What do you guys think?
What was,
I mean, they'll have just for data, 2017, two people showed up.
oh, really? Okay.
How many were? Oh, 2 people. From Exeter, 2 people from Exeter. And I brought them. I told them to come. So 0. It's up to you guys. If you want to go bigger, we could go bigger. You just have to find a school. Yeah, library, a one. We could be flexible. Just gotta give John direction. Whatever should be good enough.
I was thinking the library.
I think the library's fine.
I'll make the motion to have that meeting at
Advertise.
the library, advertise for it, yeah. The 8th, October 8th,
Yeah.
6 p.m. at the library.
Tuesday? I don't know.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. So October 8th, 2019, 6 p.m. at the library. That's a Tuesday night. Pending availability, obviously. If the library can't have it, then we'll look at one of the schools. Next up, authorize to dispose of township equipment. There's couple items there, John.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the fleet maintenance representative requests the township dispose of a fire police Ford ambulance with 1994, 2 trailer frames, a street drag room which is been replaced, a small cadet riding mower, and wishing to dispose of scrap a 2009 police Dodge Charger. Recommend the board give the administration authorization to dispose of these equipment, most of them by bid, except for the Charger of the scrap.
Can't get any more out of it, chief.
Make a motion to authorize the disposal of those township items.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Next up, set budget meeting dates. There's 1, 2, 4 dates we have, John, for the
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
various departments.
recommend that the board set the following dates: September 17th, September 30th, October 3rd, and October 10th for budget meetings to be held here at the beginning at 6 p.m.
Is there a motion?
Yes, please.
Is that all four? I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
I just appreciate you staying off Wednesdays.
That's why we did that, Vinny.
I know.
So you could pull. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. That'll be at 6 p.m. in this building. Next up, consider approving agreement with Drug Enforcement Administration. Chief, did you want to take this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This agreement is for a 1-year extension for an officer to continue serving as a task force officer with the DEA task force. This officer has performed exceptionally in this role, and I would recommend continued participation.
He's done a really good job. Great. He's done a lot.
You need a motion, right? I'll make the motion to continue the agreement.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I second it. Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next up, planning modular signature for Church Lane Estates. This is for 2-lot subdivision at Church Lane and Wakeman Road. The Township Planning Commission recommends that the board sign the planning module.
No additional information. Administrative.
Yes.
No, that's the place, they're just looking to subdivide, so they're the house in town now?
Actually, it's a vacant land. It's serving it for agricultural purposes. The owner bought the property just recently, wants to subdivide it into 2 lots. It's in front of the planning commission and currently is being reviewed as a sketch plan for record, whether it meets the definition of brief subdivision. My understanding is both lots are going to stay with the family, and it will continue to utilize the land for agricultural purposes. So however, as part of the planning process, they have to submit the DEP planning modules for 1 lot sewer. So no action has been taken at this point by the planning commission on the proposed subdivision.
Motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next up, consider settlement agreement with Verizon Wireless. This agreement will resolve the dispute between Exeter Township and Verizon Wireless for the construction of the cell tower along Heartline Drive by reissuing the permits to construct the tower.
So there was an issue with a permit that was issued some years ago now. It's been going on for a while on Heartline Road for the construction of a cell tower. And this settlement agreement, Verizon ended up filing a lawsuit against the township concerning the permit. The settlement agreement would resolve the lawsuit. In essence, they would drop the lawsuit. There are various landowners that have objections to the tower going in around that area. I tried to contact them before we finalized this. We were unsuccessful in that regard. So I was trying to get a global settlement that would include their objections, but instead we carved them out and they preserve whatever rights they individually have. And the township will issue a permit for the construction. Neighboring landowners have issues with the construction itself. They have a right to challenge it, and that's it. There's no payment of any kind. So I'd recommend approving it.
Make a motion to accept the settlement agreement.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
I saw they were putting one on, yeah, next to Sienna, like the Lowe's there. What, cell tower?
All different providers. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
It's right near the, Mascaro, yeah. I saw the big crane.
Yeah, by Hillcrest.
Yeah.
We're just gonna check and see if we just go through the department reports. Clarence?
Finish, we're gonna begin,
Louder, please.
we're gonna begin the, last phase of mowing for the year on highways, coming up in the next week or so. We're finishing up the sewer right-of-way mowing right now. We're working on the Lorraine Park to finish up the walking trail. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we should have that all finished up, and that'll complete that trail process over there. Next week is brush pickup, so if anybody wants their brush picked up, they should call the township, notify us so we can give us an address. We do not just drive around anymore like we used to and look for this stuff. To save time and money, we just go to locations that call it in. Other than that,
Is that on the website? Just make sure you get it on the website.
and that's about it, I guess, for us.
Yes, the police department conducted a truck detail last Thursday here in the township. It was extremely successful. Inspected 43 trucks put 6 of those trucks out of service for equipment that needed to be repaired. We found 2 trucks that were to be overweight. The officers issued 51 citations for fines totaling in excess of $7,000. In addition, the department conducted a DUI detail here in the township last Friday night. We had 520 cars come through the checkpoint. We found 7 DUIs. 5 of them were drug-related DUIs. Made 3 other drug arrests. Found 3 wanted persons and issued 29 traffic citations. So it was an extremely worthwhile event. Other officers from other townships, from Birdsboro, Muhlenberg, Northern Berks Regional, South Heidelberg, and Douglas Township also assisted with the DUI detail.
Thank you, Chief. Did you guys use the Hoover had that traffic, the plate camera? Did you guys use something?
We use that for the truck detail. And we found a few expired registrations in some of the trucks that we wouldn't have found otherwise.
Thanks.
Engineer Reports, Joe.
Just an update on the Norfolk Bridge project. Myself and Sam had numerous telephone conference calls with PUC, DEP, and Norfolk Southern officials throughout the last, we'll say last 2 weeks since the last board meeting. We come to a resolution with DEP that they will issue a temporary, what they call an emergency permit, so Norfolk Southern can begin the work. Our basis was on the fact that the safety issue. We supported that with some documentation, with some correspondence that was submitted to Norfolk Southern. The permit will be in Norfolk Southern's name. They will be required to still obtain a joint permit, and under what they call small projects criteria, that can be done concurrent while the work is being done. We hope, your anticipation, that we'll be receiving this permit hopefully tomorrow, not sooner. I know DEP's has indicated to me from my conversations that they would have a very quick turnaround time on issuing that permit. So we are waiting to get confirmation from Norfolk Southern on when they can plan to start construction. Hopefully it'll be very soon, so that most of the work, if not all of it, could be completed this fall. Worst case scenario, we can get the base course down and still have that completed in the spring. But we're hoping and we're staying positive that this can be done while the weather conditions are good. I do want to extend a thank you to Tom Gumbar, who is works with Senator Judy Schwenk's office. Tom has been very instrumental and has helped us coordinate these efforts, and just want to thank for his office and State Senator Judy Schwenk's office for their continued support of this project, so that we could proceed and hopefully have everything open to the public.
Yeah, Senator Schwenk was very helpful in communicating to the DEP the urgency, Mr. Gumbar, the urgency associated with this particular project and getting the work done on an emergent basis. Otherwise, the alternative, what we were looking at was potentially work wouldn't be done just because we're already coming up. It's August, it's the end of August. You can't pour concrete in the winter generally, so we were looking at a real problem here with this being pushed back again even further. Thank you to them for getting involved and helping DEP understand what we've been saying all along, which is this, we really need to get this project done.
And just one other administrative issue. I did speak with the PUC this morning. Their representative indicated that Norfolk has submitted a 6-month extension, which the board agrees they will issue at 6 months. We're hoping the work will get done, but that's typical what they added that on, I believe, at the beginning of August is what I understand. So I wanted the board to be aware of that, and if there's any other conditions, we can always add to the emergency permit as well. But I think the most important thing is that they get the joint permit, and that permit will then be transferred over to the township. So the culvert will remain in our ownership so that future maintenance can be performed as needed.
Yeah, what that was with the PUC, they filed as some of you who've been attending know, that there was a deadline with the PUC for them to complete the work by the end of June 30th this year, which obviously has come and gone and the work wasn't done. So they filed and were asked by the PUC on one of the initial calls, actually I don't think you were on this call, to file for an extension so that the PUC, everything is done on just basically from a compliance standpoint with the PUC. So they did that. But the important takeaway here is that the DEP is going to give us the emergency permit, or give Norfolk Southern the emergency permit, and the work will begin much sooner than the way things were looking at the last meeting.
Great, so good work, guys, and it took a while, and again, extend our thanks to Senator Schlenk and her office on behalf of the board, so wonderful job, and we're finally gonna get some movement there after 2.5 years. Next up, Solicitor Report.
Sure. So there was an executive session on August 19th to discuss the JMH litigation. There was an executive session before this meeting to discuss personnel matter and the resolution or potential resolution of some disputed issues concerning the host agreement we have with Mascaro, and also a real estate matter. I was going to get into Norfolk East and Everson, but we've covered that. On a couple of updates. One thing that I'm going to be presenting before the board at the next meeting, possibly, and in all likelihood, is for its consideration an amendment to the host agreement that we have with for Pioneer Crossing, the landfill. They're currently operating under an agreement that goes back to 2000. It's not an ideal agreement for the township. There aren't really any controls in it, and the financial benefits are capped at a certain level. So we have, and I see some folks from Mascaro in the room, I've been working with them over the past couple weeks, and what we're contemplating and what I'll be presenting hopefully at the next meeting is an amendment that will provide those controls that aren't in there and increase financial benefits to the township, and frankly substantially increase what's been discussed, even though nothing obviously has been finalized, is Mascaro making a $1 million contribution to the fire station campaign that will be going forward in the coming months for the construction of the new fire station, an increase in the tipping fee, and some guaranteed contributions to the community. So I know you've been updated on that before, but I wanted to make the public aware that that's something that we'll be discussing hopefully at the next meeting if the agreements are in form. And I thank Mr. Fox and Mr. Mascaro for working with me over the past few weeks on those items. Any questions on that?
No, just, anything we can get to help out, that will help supplement. Especially for the fire department, is just fantastic.
Does anything that?
Yes, sir. My name is Pat Mascaro, president of J.P. Mascaro Sons, and the owner of the Pioneer Crossing landfill. Excuse my voice. I've always tried to be an asset in the community here. We all know we're not in the easiest business, but most people do agree. When you put it out at the curb, it has to go somewhere. Unlike 30 years ago, I've been here over 30 years ago, I think through the efforts of Mr. Hoover here to a great extent, we've been able to coexist with the community in a positive manner. I don't think anyone would dispute our operating record down there over the last 20 years. Mr. Hoover lives right there, and he pretty much knows as much about it as I do. As a gesture of our commitment to operate the landfill in a proper fashion, my company has invested tremendously down in that area. That is all good potential future development later, up and down those highways, in front of the river, down 345. I think that's the township's safekeep that Mascaro and my kids and going forward are going to operate down there in a manner that's going to be productive and beneficial to the community. I'm not here to pat myself on the back, but if someone wants to really look intricately into the record of our company as it relates to the community, I think it speaks for itself. Without getting into detail, it is a fact that our 15-year obligation under the permit was to contribute $750,000 to the community. We contributed $9 million during that period of time. So we contributed $8,250,000 to the local area here in pure donations. We're not talking about goods and services. We're not talking about employment, just outright contributions. I am vested here in the township. I do own 115 properties here in the township. Independent of the landfill, we employ in excess of 200 people. With the landfill, we employ about 240 to 250, depending on the season. I consider myself within Exeter Township. I have a beautiful 150-acre estate here, Wilcroft, that is owned by myself and my wife, and we enjoy it with our family. I was open to the fact that the township was looking to better the agreement from the standpoint of controls and secondly, economics. And quite frankly, I was favorably inclined because I really don't want my kids going forward to be involved in any potential disputes here with the township. I just want to do business here. I don't want to be accommodated. I don't want any preferential treatment. But also being in the garbage business, I like to think that I should at least receive at a minimum what any other business receives. I tell you, I have my undeniable commitment. I'm very excited for the fire company. I've liked the fire company for years. I've tried to support them in different ways. I think they're quality people. I think they deserve a new fire station. And I have no problem putting up $1 million for them. But more importantly, I'm going to put up my time for them. And quite frankly, my time is limited. But I will give those people the same commitment as if I was doing something for my children or my grandchildren. And I thank you for the opportunity to work here in the township.
Mr. Mascaro. One thing I'll add that I guess I omitted, Mr. Mascaro just reminded me, he also has offered to be the head, the chairperson of the campaign for the fire station, and also to, at no cost to the township, provide the marketing and print materials associated with that.
I just want to echo Pat's comments about, Chris is here and his father, Chief Jordan. You guys have a great team, and you guys, I know we talked about the Central Station for a long, long time, so finally it's going to happen. So we're very excited for your team. You guys do a great job within the township, and congratulations.
And Mr. Mascaro, thank you so much. We appreciate all your support, not only this time, but in the past. You've been very kind and very gracious to the fire department. Thank
Our
you.
company's been gracious to my companies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Manager's report, Ranger, nothing else.
Public comment, Karl. Name and address, Mr. Schamberg.
Karl Schamberg, 207 Sheetz Lane. 2 weeks ago, somebody was talking about grading. I live in the area and grew up in the township, and Vinny popped up and said that he works for Denny's, and
No, Pagoda.
and you travel to other companies to do work. That's a totally different situation. I don't even think that compares to what Mr. Ranger does. You can't raise taxes, fire people, do anything like that where you go to work.
I have to do my job just like anybody else does. He has to do his job.
Yeah.
If he does everything job,
That's just common. He does everything here. You travel to do whatever you do. Now, question for the chief. What's the status of Brian Goldman?
His current status?
Yes.
His current status is normal with the police department.
Oh, he isn't? Okay. I just see paychecks all the time, getting less and less, and just to know what was going on. The rest of the stuff I'll see in 3 weeks.
All right, thank you, Karl. Ms. Kircher.
Michelle Kircher, 1101 Stonehenge Drive. I want to thank Mr. Mascaro for his great offer to the community. Let's hope that it does happen. I have been involved with Mr. Mascaro's host agreement before and what he's done in the township. And I've also been around to help Mr. Mascaro learn how to clean up and run a landfill. I also know that normally, we did last time at least, when the issue of the host agreement came up and what the residents want, we made it transparent and public. And we made sure that the residents, we tried to make sure that the residents got the best deal possible. And I'm a little quite upset that this wasn't brought out before and that we had an opportunity that you didn't discuss it with us and let us know what was going on.
We are going to discuss it in 2 weeks.
I know, but you'll discuss it, make a decision like that, and we won't have time to absorb it and go around. I'm not saying that Mr. Mascaro at all is trying to do anything bad to us, but it is the revenue that is going to flow into the township. And under Act 1, if you understand Act 1 and the harms benefit and what has to be given in the application for expansion, that's part of it. And there were a lot of promises made in the past that Almstown would be a beautiful area and so forth. And I just want to make sure this time that we get what was promised. We have not in the past. I'm not saying that the landfill has not improved, Mr. Mascaro. We don't have the problems that we had there first. But I want to make sure that this township does get what it deserves for having a landfill, because it has slowed down development in that area. The school won't put a school down there. And I just want to make sure that in the long run, with all the added traffic, that this township does not suffer.
Thank you.
And I want this to be a process that's not rushed through, and that everyone gets a chance to look at it, read it, and comment. This is a very serious matter. You've taken away the sewer for our revenue, and you're doing who knows what with the rest of the revenue. And this is a major source of revenue for our township.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw.
And I would also like to give you some information, since you haven't taken a whole lot of classes on being a supervisor. I don't have some copies.
That's fine, just give it to me, I'll hand it.
That you should pass around that maybe you can learn.
Yeah, from P-Stats, we go to those, actually, so we're good there. Thank you, Ms. Kircher.
And I just want one more thing to add under the under the Sunshine Law, under the statutes 710.1 about public participation. I think that needs to be reviewed, and that anybody that has property in this township has a right to speak, and the statute overrules what you have.
Which is what we do. So thank you for your comments. We're taking under advice.
There are certain people that can't speak.
They're not.
Yes, they have property here, pay taxes.
Okay.
So you need to change that.
Tell me the person and I'll take care of it. Mr. Fox, you want to? He has a P.O. box.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Good evening. My name's Bill Fox. I'm general counsel for J.P. Mascaro and Sons and its related entities, including the Pioneer Crossing landfill. I really wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but I just have to comment briefly on Michelle's suggestion or possibly inference that the township has not received everything that was promised under the host community agreement. They received 100% and more than what was promised. And just by way of example to the public, right now the landfill contributes to the township in form of host fees approximately 8% of the total revenue that this township receives under their budget every year. Right now, the benefits from a host community agreement are capped. We don't have to do one further thing, and through the efforts of the township solicitor and some of the board members, an approach has been made, and we understood there were some specific needs of the township, and we're very much willing to participate. Do not enjoy a suggestion that we have not honored our commitments. We have.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Next up, Mr. Hughes.
David Hughes, 255 West 47th Street. At our last meeting, we presented the audit for 2018, and you prevented anyone from asking questions. We know it was you because Vinny asked you if you wanted the auditor to stick around and answer the questions, and you said no. So, one of the things I'd like to bring up is the auditor mentioned that in 2018 audit, $7 million was transferred from the sewer fund to the general fund. And there's nowhere in the minutes that this was approved by the board. And if you go back to the forensic audit of the Reading Country Club, one of the issues that the auditors brought up was that you have no policy regarding transfer of funds from one fund account to another fund account. So I suggest that you put this on your to-do list and develop a policy that where the board approves large transfers like $7 million, there was another one for $300,000. So, when you have a manager who has the control that Mr. Granger has, and he has misappropriated funds in the past, we should have a very secure method of ensuring that misappropriation doesn't occur again in this township. So that's one thing I'd like to say. The audit also revealed for the first time the cost of firing our employees at the sewer plant and hiring Mr. Granger's associate, Edward Gillette, and EEMA. The revenues were relatively flat, $7 million in 2017, $7.1 million in 2018. But the income, after the expenses, were much different. In 2017, we had income of $4.1 million. It dropped in 2018 by $1.3 million, which is the increase that we incurred by hiring EEMA. Finally, the Sunshine Act classes. I'd like to ask Mr. Cortez if he could put it on his list of things to do. Last meeting, Mr. Cadet said that they're too busy. You guys have jobs and you work, and you don't have time to take the Sunshine class.
No, I didn't say that.
Yes.
I said we're
This is my comment period, okay? You can comment.
You got 20 seconds.
All right? Shh.
20 seconds.
Shh.
15.
Stop.
So finally, I want to quote Abraham Lincoln. Everybody loves quotes. He said, "Our progress into degeneracy appears to me to be pretty rapid." And what I'm talking about are off-the-cuff comments that Mr. Crusadus made in the last meeting, where he alluded to the fact that you guys, the whole board, and the government of Exeter Township treats me differently because you feel that I don't respect you. Check the video, that's what he says. Finally, at the end of the meeting, I was attacked by his wife. And I should not have to be concerned about coming to this meeting and having Mr. Crusadus' wife come after me, pointing her finger in my face and yelling and screaming at me. Two citizens had to get in the way.
You're done, Mr. Hughes. Next up, Fred Whitehawk.
Oh, I'm done?
You have 3 minutes.
Fred Whitehawk, 200 West 47th Street, and tonight I represent the Exeter Township Neighborhood Crime Watch. Today we have a total of 1,100 members, with 97% belonging to the private Facebook Crime Watch group. We have been invited to participate in the Lorraine Family Fun Days and the May Days. Our next invitation has been accepted and we will participate in the block party at Reformation Lutheran Church on September 8th. This past weekend, several yard signs reading "Schools open, drive carefully" distributed throughout the township on Saturday the 24th, and our volunteer Crime Watch members who live there gave us permission to put them on their properties. Okay. Last but certainly not least, we're working on documents required to become a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Unfortunately, this takes time and money, and our distant goal is to become nonprofit by the end of 2020. Thank you for your time.
Now, you guys do a phenomenal job. Karen and I speak a lot. We do a lot of fundraisers, May Days, and the other things for the Dawson family. So I just want to, on behalf of the board, I'm sure the other 4 members echo, I just want to give you, Karen, it shows what, again, people that are committed, doing good things in the community is something that a lot of people should be doing. So great job by you, and I just want to give you kudos again. Great job.
September 8th, right?
Yes.
Sunday, September 8th.
To get involved in the community and do something productive. That's this Friday. Yes, and we raised $1,500 at the Dairy Queen for the Dawson family. Awesome job. Next up, Mr. Hoover.
Okay, I'll start with my first comment to the attorney. Give update on the travelers, please.
I met with the person who was the adjuster on the account, who then requested a bunch of information. They requested a bunch of information, which we then subsequently provided. So my guess is that what she told me was that I would be hearing from her this week with an update as to timing as to whether there are additional questions.
County room.
I know you are.
Okay. I want to, you have the dates there for your budget meetings?
Budget meetings, yes.
I would recommend that you follow your past practice and give us a handout like you did last year. They were beautiful. I appreciate it.
We will do that, Glenn.
Pardon?
We will do that, I promise you.
We can mail them to you.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there. I had that, and I will make a comment. I live in Ballstown. I dealt with Mr. Mascaro and Mr. Fox for some time. I gotta admit, in public, the same way I took them down, that we have a working agreement. And I never dreamed it would be that way. And when we have issues, we don't have a problem. And I gotta say, they were very cooperative. And I will compliment them on their record over the course of 15 or 18 years. Because I'd be the first one to get them an NOV, if that's what it takes. They know it.
Yeah.
I had that, and okay, take you in the handout, you're gonna come take us on the travelers. Okay, that'll be it.
And notice the agenda had some more detail on the new business just for you. The agenda was more detailed.
Me, it's for everybody. That's the way it should be.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Good job, Drew.
Well, a couple items. We moved on from this real quick before I could actually finish. But number one, on these sunshine classes, if that's something the board wants, I can. Okay, fine. Number two, we discussed the personnel matter we discussed in executive session. I'd ask the board to authorize the solicitor's office to file a writ of summons that concerns that individual. As discussed, I'm going to keep it confidential for now, but we'll disclose at the next board meeting further details. So I would need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Sam.
One other thing. There was a grievance that was filed by an individual in the police department that needs to be dealt with by the board. The first step of the grievance process is over. The second step of the grievance process, as required by the CBA, puts the board or the board's designee as the second step arbitrator, for lack of better terms. So the board needs to decide whether it wants to hear the grievance as a whole, or whether it wants to designate someone or people to serve in that role.
We should do Mr. Granger as the person for that.
Not appropriate.
I'll make that motion.
Conflict of interest there.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Chief,
Second.
don't let him do that.
And Jeff.
Jeff second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Next up, we have a representative from Congressman Houlahan's office. She's going to speak to us. She's supposed to be here at 7, but we're glad you made it before our meeting's over.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I conveyed I had a different municipal meeting for this
No
one.
problem. You're good.
Well, I would like to thank you guys for the opportunity to be here this evening. I'll make it quick because I know everybody
Actually, your
wants to
name,
go home.
please, just for the record.
Yes, my name is Yvonne Fonte, and I'm here on behalf of United States Congresswoman Chrissy Houlahan. Chrissy's been in office for over 200 days now, and she just basically wanted us to her staff to reach out to the municipalities. And there's about 19 in the part of Berks that she oversees. I wanted to let you know that in the back table outside the room, I did put a palm card with her DC, Westchester, and Reading offices. Both offices are open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, but on Tuesdays and Thursdays, for those who cannot make it out during the day and get the benefit of the tax dollars they pay into the federal government, she's open till 7 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which is really great because parking is a little difficult in Reading, and you don't have to feed the meters after 6, and there's plenty of parking on the street at that time. She wanted to let you guys know that she wants to be a resource for the municipalities and for the constituents. So if there's anything that she can be of help, she wants you to reach out to her. And that's why she made sure that we are coming out to each meeting. She wanted to let you know that as far as constituency service, helping the people who live in the Pennsylvania 6th Congressional District, she's closed over 500 cases. The dollars that she's been able to return to the community in these 200 days that she's been in office have been over $805,000. So if you had a problem with the IRS and you needed to get a hold of that money, or you had problems with your Medicare or Social Security, these are the kind of dollars and many other outlets where she's been able to help advocate for people and get that money back into the community. She's had over 50,000 pieces of correspondence or calls, emails, letters, and for those who wanted a response in writing, she's been able to reach out to over 30,000 people. As far as the district, she's been able to go out to 9 town halls so far, and the very first one she had was in Wyomissing, and she wanted to have one here in Reading, but she'll have to reschedule that one. But 9 of them, she's really trying hard to get out to the different areas so that you can hear. She's fought against the closure of the Sikorsky factory in Coatesville, and she has publicly really appreciated that President Trump stepped up and to try to help this factory, to help the Sikorsky families be able to keep their jobs, and she was able to do that good in the district. She announced transportation and infrastructure priorities in Reading, and not just Reading. We all know that there's unmandated types of pressures on the municipalities. Some of them have the heaviness of the MS4, the requirements with storm sewage. So if there's anything she can try to do to be helpful, please make sure to reach out to her. She's convened roundtables on small business labor, farmers, guns. She made sure to connect the farmers who do mushrooms and dairy to be able to connect with the ag secretary to be able to have a voice there at that table. She's actively fought the safety and transparency of the pipeline. As far as legislation, and getting to the end here, the committees that she's on, she serves on our Armed Services, Foreign Affairs, Small Business. She's on the following caucuses: Servicewomen and Women Veterans, For Country, Gun Violence Prevention, LGBTQ Equality, Sustainable Energy and Environment. She's introduced 10 bills and co-sponsored 148 bills, and she's passed 3 amendments. And these surrounded reducing the cost of prescription drugs, fighting opioid addiction, funding the public education, easing the burden of student loans, transitioning to 100% renewable electricity by 2035, instituting background checks for gun purchases. And she, as an engineer, she's been very concerned about that there's a good plan to protect individuals with these pipelines coming through. And she's asked for the unredacted report of what that plan would be in order to protect people. If anyone has any questions, anything federal, Medicare, veterans, Social Security, please reach out to us, and the Congresswoman staff would be so happy to help. That's what we're here for. And thank you so much again for your time this evening.
Yes, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. She represents part of Exeter, so some people have her and some people have
Representative Muse.
another gentleman. Yes. So yeah, so Exeter's split up, unfortunately, where some people have different representatives to Congress, just like we have different representatives to Harrisburg, so just be careful to know who your congressman is and for congresswoman.
Yeah.
Next up, Supervisor Reports, Vinnie.
Quick, I'm sorry to echo the board. Thank you to Pat, Mascaro, Bell Fox for for making that contribution and also being the face of campaign to go forward to get more help and more support for the fire company and everything that you've done for the longest time. Other than that, I mean, happy birthday to John. You get yelled at for your birthday. So
I'm used to it.
And then, like I said, the crime watches will be September 8th. We're gonna have 10, so come on out, talk to them, and like I said, there's good information to get updated on and stuff. So,
excellent, thanks, Vinnie. Karen?
Thanks to those citizens like yourself and the businesses that have stepped up with fundraisers for the Dawson family. There's still more this week, so support our business and our local families. So just thank you for everyone who is.
Thanks, Jeff.
Just continuing with the dog park initiative, we were actually down at the Danielle Ruiz Murphy Animal Center for Animal Welfare and Dog Park. That's really nice. It was, still really nice down there. That was probably my 10th or 12th time down there. That was nice. We're looking at a spot maybe at Danny Boone Homestead. Also looking at, community park area. We're just in talks with a local Boy Scout for his Eagle Scout project. So that's coming along nicely. We should have some preliminary plans and estimates, to kind of see what might be the best location and the best approach. We're trying to model it the best we can after the Buchanan Dog Park up in Lancaster near Franklin Marshall and James Buchanan's house, which I'm a dog fan, and that's the nicest dog park I've ever been to. So we're trying to do something in Exeter along those lines.
Excellent, thanks, Jeff. Dave?
Yeah, I just want to thank Mr. Mascaro for supporting the community, also the fire company, the entire fire company, and the volunteers, the Crime Watch and the Garden Club. I know we didn't hear from Pat tonight. I think Pat's on vacation, but the gardens look very nice.
Yeah,
and everything.
Senator Reports, I saw this afternoon.
You did? Okay.
That's my favorite place. I can't.
And I'm also very much looking forward to the first shovel along the ground down at Another St. Rose. That's it.
Yeah, I just want to echo the Crime Watch team for being here tonight. Also, the folks that help out at the Reading Country Club. Great sense of community. So, get involved in your community. Help, volunteer for the fire department. Get involved and help others. And that's all I had. So, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Everybody have a safe Labor Day and see everybody